Hey guys! So in today's video I'm going to be talking about torture. Now some of these tortures are a bit gruesome, so if it freaks you out to hear about them, go ahead and click off about it. Now I'm not going to go into detail about it, it's just some of these freak me out and will probably freak you out. But these are just some of the top 5 tortures that I found that are really freaky and cruel and should never be done to anyone. So the definition of torture is the act of inflicting excruciating pain as punishment or revenge on someone to get information, or just for sheer cruelty. Some people like to torture other people and they just do it. And then other times they would just do it to punish them. But no one should be tortured like this. Alright, so the fifth one, number 5 is the wheel torture. And the wheel torture, also known as called breaking wheel, is a prime example of medieval torture. The unlucky person would be strapped onto the wheel, and then another person would hit them with an iron hammer, which would break their bones. And once all the bones would be broken, the people would then leave them there to be eaten by the birds that were just waiting. So it's this one's not bad, but it's really, really bad. It gets way worse. And just to think about it, being strapped up, not being able to do anything. Now I know most people would probably say, oh, they're a murderer, they deserve this, but no one should deserve to be killed in such a manner. Alright, so number 4 is filleting. Now most of you have probably heard this in movies like Red, they talk about it. And filleting was used thousands of years ago on witches, captured soldiers, to execute criminals. Now I bet there's someone going at home going, well, isn't executing not torture? Well, in this case, it was. In one method, there's 3 different methods, but in this one method, people's hands were tied above their heads, and then the torturer would come and cut the flesh off, and they would start at the face. Now the 2 other methods is that they would leave you out in the sun and you'd get sunburned, and then they'd peel your skin off, and then another one is they would cook you alive, and then while you were still living, they would pull your flesh off. It's disgusting, and that's gotta be the worst way to die, especially with cooking. I mean, can you imagine being cooked alive? That's one of my biggest things. That's no for me. 3, the rack. Now, the rack is a table sort of contraption. The victims would be laid down, and then their wrists would be tied above their heads, and their feet would be chained down on the end of the table. And so what they would do is the people who were torturing them would turn the table. There'd be one person here, and they'd be turning the table. No, sorry, Savannah, interrupting. They'd be turning the table at opposite ends, so it's pulling your body apart. And this would break your bones, snap your ligaments, and just do all sorts of horrible things to you before it ripped you limb from limb. And all the while, you are still awake. You are feeling every bit of this. Ugh. This hurts me to talk about it. And then 2, which is forced indigestion. And some of you are probably like, they're feeding you? No, this is also called water torture. It is another form of water torture. There is another one that's where they drip water onto your forehead and you go a bit crazy. This one is where they tie you down and then they put a tube in you. You're tied down and they force a tube in you, and then they start pumping water into your body. So you're almost drowning and you're still alive, and so your body can't take all that water. And so this would result in seizures, comas, brain damage, and even death. Sometimes they would stop the procedure and just go, okay, let them go. They can live the rest of their life with a brain damage. And that's the thing, they would just stop in the middle of a torture, not even bother kill the person, just let them go. No. See, that bothers me. I love the water, and hearing this, it kind of makes me freak out now. And then the number one that I thought was so disturbing is called the head crusher, and it's just that the torturer would put your chin would go on a bar here, and your head would be covered with a cap. Now this cap had a screw with a handle on top of it, and I bet you already know where I'm going with this. They would turn the handle until your skull was completely crushed. Now sometimes they would stop in between, just stop turning it, and let the person sit there as their skull is literally open, and it caused brain damage, and they would let them go, and people would die after this procedure because, one, their heads cracked open, and two, from infection. Because if they did manage to live with their head cracked open and it healed, they would get an awful infection from it because there's too much stuff that would get into there. So that is all I have today. Remember to like and comment if you want me to talk more about torture. Go ahead and leave a comment down below. Bye, guys.